I would like to call to order the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting for Monday, January 4th, 2016. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bussey?
Here.
Alder Wood?
Here.
Mayor Miller?
Here. Is there a motion for approval of the December 7th, 2015 minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. There are no appearances here this evening on anything other than the agenda. There is no unfinished business. Under item 6, new business, 6A is consideration of resolution 16-1-2063, authorizing the City of Monona to apply for a large-scale lake management planning grant from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Dan Stefani, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. What you have in front of you, included in the packet, is a resolution for a DNR grant that we did submit an application for on December 9th. The applications were due on December 10th. You may recall that we have found PCBs and sediment in the lagoons at Winnequa Park, and we have secured a contract with Strand to do some sampling and some engineering to assist us with a report that we need to turn into the DNR later this year. The grant is for $25,000. That's what the DNR would cost share. Our city share would be $12,313. We're nearly there already with the requirements that we have from the DNR. The cost that we need to pay Strand for their effort is $3,500. So we figure that it's a small cost, a small amount for the large amount of money that we would get from the DNR for this work. It's unknown what the DNR is going to require us to do after we submit the report. This is just the first stages of this work. So basically, it's a resolution that we are seeking approval for that goes along with our grant application that we sent in already. So that's why it started for first read.
Questions? Hearing none? Yes, Mr. Bussey.
Is one of the options, because it's a really heavy thing, to just leave it?
We don't know what the options are yet.
Okay.
The DNR hasn't given us any indication of where this is going.
Will the DNR be the one making that decision, or will we be making a recommendation in conjunction with our consultant?
I believe the DNR will be telling us what we need to do. The study that Strand has to turn in, once we get our samples and they're analyzed, they're going to do their thing. We'll turn that into the DNR. The DNR will study it, and then they'll let us know what our next step is. But I guess I'm expecting us to have to remove the layers of sediment in the channel. We'll see.
Anything else?
Yeah, just
Alderwood?
where is it actually located, as far as we know?
We have PCB located north of Nichols Road in that portion of the channel, as well as just south of Nichols Road. We found them when we did sampling for replacing that culvert.
Okay.
We did additional samples in 2015, and the DNR is asking us to go a little bit further on each side to find the limits. We're expecting more towards the north, less to the south.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6B is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2064, the purchase approval of one current model year, 1-ton chassis cab. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second. Welcome back, Mr. Stefani.
Thank you, Mayor. Included in your packet, you have a resolution and a fiscal note for the purchase of a 2016 one-ton chassis. It is purchased through the state contract. Ewald Automotive would be the company that we buy the chassis from. It would replace the 2005 Chevy pickup truck. That truck will go to the Parks Department. The one they have now will go to auction. This would be a joint purchase between the Public Works Department and the Parks Department for joint use of a one-ton dump truck. This will be going to the Public Works Committee this coming Wednesday, and then come back here for come back to City Council for second read at the mid-January meeting. The cost is $28,362, and we have a budget of $37,500. We've got a dump body price not included with this approval request. That price is $8,985. We would make our capital budget allocation by $153, so it is under budget.
Questions? Have you ever compared, is the state plan really a good negotiated plan?
It is a negotiated plan. I did not submit all the paperwork to council, but Public Works Committee gets all the paperwork. It has all the specs, the bid advertisement. It's just like what we would do, but at the state level. So it is all here, Mayor, if you do want to see this.
No, I just, if they're good negotiators or not.
Yeah, I think they would get a better deal than if we would go on our own.
Okay.
So.
Further, yes, Mark?
Go to this page right here. So in there, you can see what the state of Wisconsin discount is.
11,000 or something.
Yeah. So.
I should have got 12. Further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6C is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2065. Purchase approval of one current model year plow truck equipment package. 3 strikes, you're out, Dan, at the podium.
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm
So far.
2 for 2, so I've got 3 strikes to go.
Don't wear it out Sunday for Sunday.
Okay, what you have in your packet,
Do we have a motion, Mayor?
Oh, is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second, Dan.
okay, thank you, Mayor. Included in your packet, you have the equipment proposal summary from the RFP that we sent out, the resolution and the fiscal note, and then some comments by Lakeside International. We received proposals on December 11th for the snowplow chassis and the upfit for the snowplow equipment. Lakeside International is what I am asking for approval on, and as indicated in the fiscal note, they were the high-cost provider for the chassis. The low-cost provider was V&H Trucks, which submitted a proposal for a Western Star truck. Their engine mainly didn't meet the specification, and one area of the proposal where they didn't meet either is where the requirement to explain the deviations. We can accept minor deviations from the specification, but with explanation, and they provided no explanation to any of their deviations. So also we have 5 of our current 6 snowplow trucks are provided by Lakeside International, and we would prefer to keep the same model, mainly for efficiencies in our mechanics department and operator familiarity with that truck. So this will also be going to the Public Works Committee this coming Wednesday and back to City Council at the mid-January meeting. The cost for the chassis and the snowplow upfit is $172,719.90. We have a budget allocation of $183,000, so we're just over $10,000 with remaining budget balance. The truck that it would replace is a 1995 International plow truck that will go to auction once we receive our new truck.
Questions, Alder Bussey?
I read the memo or the email regarding V&H, but Truck Country was also less money than Lakeside International, not a significant amount.
Right.
But they were. Why wouldn't we go with their bid since they were the lower bid if they met all our specs?
They're a difference by about $219. If it's the desire of City Council and the Public Works Committee that we go with the Freightliner model, we wouldn't have any objection to that. We currently have 3 Freightliner trucks in our leaf collection units. This truck would be a heavier duty version of the vehicles that we have right now. We did also work with Truck Country before we put out the RFP. Compared to specifications, we wrote the spec for the Lakeside International model. Either one would be acceptable to us. I'm endorsing and recommending approval of the international model because the operator would prefer the international. He has an international now, and our mechanic is very familiar with the international fleet, just as he is with the Freightliner fleet. So, but we would not like the V&H Western Star model,
Right.
but that's completely up to committee and council.
Further questions? Alder Bussey? Yes, sir.
I guess if it is the lower bid, and it's a qualified vendor, I understand the V&H issue, but it's a qualified vendor. I just worry that we aren't going to be getting proposals from people if they end up to be low bid, and then we go with somebody else just because we've done business with them. I've got a concern about that. I want to make sure that we get quality bids from a number of different vendors. So I guess I would like Public Works to make a recommendation. Or are you going to ask them for a recommendation or just approval of your recommendation?
I'm going to, basically, they're receiving the same information you are. So I would come back at the mid-January meeting with their recommendation. I don't know what that is right now either.
I don't have a problem at this committee to approve up to 94,710, but at council, I'd like to see what Public Works comes back with and make sure we're not eliminating a potential future
So
bidder.
you want to table this?
That might be the best way to go.
Yeah.
Wants to table
I
this?
moved to table.
Second.
Motion second to table this item.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Told you, 3 strikes, buddy boy. Push your luck.
It's not a no.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Dan. Item 6E is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2067, providing for the sale of $5,025,000 in general obligation promissory notes. Series-
Go on.
This one?
Yeah, we're
Well,
on D.
on D.
Yeah.
It's just millions here and there. All right, moving up back to 6D is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2066, authorizing the redemption of general obligation refunding bonds dated February 15th, 2008. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Mark?
This is basically we took a note out in 2008 for TIF 2, and this note actually comes, this bond actually comes due 12/1/2016. The bond, I keep on saying note, the bond is actually now callable, which means you can pay it off early without any early penalties. So this is the last year of it. I'm just recommending paying this off, get approval to pay this off. Doesn't save us a lot of interest. It saves us $18,000, but it is money that we are saving the TIP, which in turn is the donor district to TIP 4 and 5. So it is a little bit of interest costs we are saving the city and the taxpayers.
Seems prudent. Questions? Further discussion, hearing none.
So are the funds coming from then?
To pay it.
From-
Pay, this is what it's budgeted, which would have been through the TIF.
Okay.
TIF 2 pays for it. And we have, the increment is more than
Okay,
the debt
right.
payment, so it makes the debt payment.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Bussey,
Aye.
Motion carries. Now moving to exciting 6E is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2067, providing for the sale of $5,025,000 in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2016. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second. Mark?
This one's a little bit more of a tricky one. We're combining two things in this one note. This is a recommendation from our financial advisor, Jeff Belangi. One is the capital borrowing, which is approximately 2.9, rounded up to $2.9 million. And we approved this back in, I believe, October, early November with that. And the reason why we're borrowing this now, if you remember, there was some cost savings for fire trucks and some other couple things. So that's why we recommend. I usually do it in March, but this is why it's up here. And also, we had we also have a $3,925,000 general obligation notes. In the way it was structured, there's a balloon payment of $2,125,000 due in 17. Now this payment's actually callable. The recommendation for Jeff was to combine this into one larger borrowing to get us better interest rates. So the total combined is $5,025,000, what we're projected to borrow.
Question? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the question I had for Jeff, and I looked and made sure, we're looking at the, is make sure the repayment schedules are set up so we don't, refi the refi again, so that and be guaranteed that that's not, we would not be doing that.
You did guaranteed?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that was my one concern with the whole.
Alder Bussey?
So what, on the previous one, you shared with us the potential savings. What potential savings would we have by doing this exercise?
Well, basically, the way the 2.5, it's a big balloon payment that we would have to refinance at one time because it would add about basically $2 million onto the tax levy if we don't refinance it for the debt service.
But is the interest rate that we, until, because we're redoing it now,
Yeah.
and he's anticipating rates to go up, that's what he's telling us, right?
He's expecting they're going to go up in the next couple months or so that they
So,
should.
but the current interest rate that we're paying on this, that we would pay through 16 and part of 17, how does that compare to the interest rate that if we refinance?
We do, eventually we have to refinance it, but we do save, I don't have the exact number, but I believe it's roughly, because it's the last payment too, in 2017 because of the balloon, and I believe it's probably about $30,000. Refinancing it now and then wait till it comes to it.
But we'd get that last payment anyway when we refinance, right? Whether we do it now or whether we do it in 17? Is that what you're telling me?
No, we're saving that money up front. We're saving the interest.
Okay. So the savings is around 30, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
So between the two, it'd be $48,000,
Yeah.
$50,000. Alder Wood?
So there won't be a balloon payment on the refi.
Correct.
One question, Mark. I attended earlier today for part of it. I slipped into the staff meeting, the admin meeting. And Jake mentioned that we're having to change those lights on the park shelter, and that's a $10,000 capital.
Yeah.
And I overheard you say something about, well, maybe we should be taking that in consideration and borrowing. Have you given any more thought to that?
I have. I think we have some money left from the building fund.
Okay,
That we could
that will cover that.
That could cover, and I talked to Jake a little bit.
And
about
we
that.
haven't even discussed, it seems like a lot to change those lights, but.
The fireman shelter or?
No.
or
No, it's just Oneida.
Further discussion or questions? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bussey.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Item 6F. I might just note, I'm not sure, but all of these documents regarding this next matter are in the packet, so I don't know if there's anything really. But So be it if you want to go into closed session. But that item is convening in closed session under Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, paren 1, paren C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This is regarding the city planner's salary adjustment consideration. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We will convene in closed session. This should take 10 minutes. Unless we really want to get her sweating.
I was like, how do we do this with the cameras?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to tell me these things initially.
Yeah, no problem. We just tell people, turn your volume down.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
you
the
can't
stuff
hear
of
what we're
legends
saying.
when people forget to turn the TV.
This room's cold. Stay tuned. We'll grab you. Hey, the one thing I meant to ask you today.
Yeah.
You plan on sticking around? If this goes the right way?
Yeah.
That some Prince Charming's not gonna sweep you off your feet?
He's already planted
All right. But needed to ask you that. You knew that was coming.
it.
And 2. Moving on to item 6H is consideration of resolution 16-1-2068, amending the 2016 operating budget to adjust for the salary for the city planner. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Is there a
Second.
second? Discussion?
Mayor.
Yes, Alder Bussey?
Some of the, I guess, findings of fact that went into it were that the decision had been delayed due to the, my concern was why wasn't this addressed at the time of the budget? Delayed with the, while we were obtaining a new city administrator. Also, the prior city administrator served as the economic development director, and that by combining these positions, it's in effect a promotion. And those are two important elements in my decision.
That is correct. Alder Wood, anything you care to add?
No.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration, and again, That was for a 19-year contract, is the other sub, and that was.
That's what he said.
Item 6I, discussion and possible action on merit payments guidelines. I don't know if this requires a motion for, yeah, it would.
It is on only for discussion, not consideration, so you can just,
Okay, just discussion. So, as you know, or should know, that historically we have set aside and budgeted on an annual basis a pool of monies that were to go to be used for merit increases or rewards for non-represented staff. And through my own fault last year, I thought there was much more widespread feedback into the process than I learned was actually happening. And so I was somewhat disappointed in terms of how those merit awards were provided in the past. So I asked Mark Hodeker, in his role as interim city administrator, and then when April joined us as our city administrator, to come up with a more open, all-encompassing review process to work on the merit awards. And what you see before you is in part the outline and the bridge work that they have put together. And I have to admit, I commend them greatly that having gone through the packets this weekend, again, I'll go back to harping on staff. I'm so proud of the staff, the administration staff we have, that each of the administrators was asked to provide their input in written form on employees in terms of why they felt. And again, the guidelines I provided to April in this were, this is not to be considered part of an employment package or the raise structure. You know, we provide raises, hopefully, on an annual basis, but this is for work and effort and enthusiasm and anything and above and beyond the call of just coming and doing your job in a good way. So I said they're not to be looked at as spread evenly throughout the city. It's to reward those who do exceptional service and effort and have done great things for the city. And I was pleased to see that was followed to the T. The challenge was there's more quality work being done than the dollars that were allocated to provide in terms of what all the recommendations were. So the scoring grid was one that then came back for April's final approval or prior approval before getting to me. And so some adjustments had to be made. But you'll see the criteria is how they're outlined and by department. And I would hope if there was ever a case of anyone who happens to receive one of these understands why and how, and also what the target is for coming years in terms of how you might be able to obtain a merit reward, because now the rules are much more clear. And again, I owe culpability for not having done this quite as well. It hasn't been done this way. It was a little bit more arbitrary. So I had asked that this be shared with you, so you understand the process going through, but I have approved my recommendations to April. And questions, discussions? Alder Bussey and Alderwood?
Doug, do you want to go first?
Alderwood?
Let's see, a couple questions, I guess. One, with respect to the library employees, and maybe this is something for going forward that we put in, since obviously the board has control over the board's budget, and the employees below the director wouldn't be eligible for merit pay. Maybe that's something that we need to allocate a separate line item in the future for those employees as well, so that everybody is eligible.
Mhm.
Um,
Will someone please make note of that so we don't get a year from now and we're rehashing, so that there's something that in July, this summer, we remember to discuss. And that obviously the library board should be making a recommendation.
Right, as to who gets it kind of
Yeah.
thing. But
Well, and also just that, do they want it that way?
Right.
Because
Oh,
it's-
right.
Participate
they are
in it, yeah.
autonomous.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I did
Um,
speak to the director about that specifically, so.
okay, good. And then what is the process for getting a merit pay? Actually, before you didn't do that, these are one-time bonuses?
Mhm.
They're not based building on the salary?
No.
Okay.
They are structured in terms of, as in item 6, the ranges, based
Right.
upon some broad job requirements, where the 3 ranges are.
But they don't build the base salary? They don't carry over to the next year?
No.
And then, so what is the process? Goes from the employee to their supervisor to April to the mayor?
No, it starts at the supervisor. It starts with
Okay.
the supervisor. This template was provided
Right.
to each of the
Oh, okay.
supervisors.
All right.
They then sent them to, I had asked Mark to, just because April had such a short time to get to know anyone, that Mark helped with that, and I think that indeed was the case. So she had a packet of, every employee was,
Basically, step was, we sent an email out to the department heads to review your staff, recommend who you thought, and put down, based on your reasonings. And then it came back to me in April. We, then I did the department heads because since Pat was gone, and then I
Right.
kind of had that fill in. I did all the department heads, and I gave those to April. And then we sat down and we looked at it, and we recommend what we thought would be for each one. So
Okay.
that was the process.
and I didn't make any I had questions as to some of the rationale behind, but those questions were all answered, so I had no reason to meddle with the process. I thought it was very well done and should hold up to any scrutiny. And I hope it's intended to help morale, and I'll be interested to hear from April and staff to see, is that reflected, and not just assume that I'm going to get my merit raise, because not everyone received it.
Hmm.
Sorry. I think the biggest challenge is, we do have so many good employees that, we probably didn't give as high of individual awards maybe as in the past. But, one of the things that we did talk about is, there was greater weight given to people that have had maybe what you'd call a special year. They had to fill in for somebody or take on special duties. That, you wouldn't expect that would happen every year, but also a way to recognize somebody too that, those employees that maybe aren't the superstars, but they're reliable, they're consistent, they're positive, they're part of the team.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Just to recognize that a little bit as well, so. Because we can't operate it without that too.
And finally, I like this because, to me, it rewards individuality and exceptional work, whereas when we do our 2.5% raises, those are important and needed, but that is, everyone benefits from that, whereas I want those superstars to benefit a little bit more than others and continue to lead by example. So, good job. Yep, Alder Bussey.
Just on the proposed guidelines, some thoughts. Should there be a line in here that merit payments don't have to be given? It's not like you're obligated, if there's not exceptional performance in a year, there's none given. Or I don't know if that's understood or not, but and the other thing with the problem that April was just discussing, what if we eliminated the floor and just said up to? And that way, if you've got a year where you've got a number of people who have performed highly, you're going to be able to give potentially or recognize their performance more. Just something to chew on.
Another thing I was thinking about too is,
The fluoride.
if you, department heads are a category and, police is a category, but, it seemed a little difficult to me because some people or departments may only have one or two people to supervise, and, that made it a little tricky too. And actually, I looked at some samples and I didn't like much of what I saw, but one of the things is, they said, no, you can't exceed a percentage of a person's salary, which I think kind of complicates it, and tying it to annual performance appraisals. But, I think we get hung up on that a little bit too much. Sometimes people are always looking at those numbers, and I think that makes people unnecessarily nervous sometimes, and maybe that's more restrictive than what we need. So that's why I didn't draft it that way. So.
And again, I want to commend the department heads, and I don't know, please stop by and visit April and take a look. But to the department, these weren't just a couple hen scratchings down. And I like Joe. He's done a good job. He wasn't sick this year. Thought was given, and again, I go back to, we've got good administrators who hire good employees, and I think that's showing through all the way through, so. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, Alder Wood.
I do like Alder Bussey's idea of either not necessarily eliminating the floor, but lowering it so it's a broader range, so that gives the mayor and April more flexibility in the awards they give.
What would be the drawback in removing the floor in its entirety?
Well,
So it would
if
just
it's,
be
if you
a
say
range
zero
up
to,
0
yeah.
to 500, 0 to 1,000, 0 to 7.
We're not going to give a merit payment of 0, though. Right.
Not everybody gets a merit payment.
Yeah, there are some
Right,
zeros.
Right.
There's a lot of zeros.
Yeah. Sure, we could do it that way.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, again, thank you, staff. Thank you, April, under a short time and hopefully this help your learning cycle that you get to see everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I've never done merit before, so that was a good learning experience.
All right, moving on to item 7 is acceptance of the general fund accounts payable checks dated December 3rd through the 31st, 2015. Mark?
There's a lot. I think there's a lot of pages, 32 pages. A lot of them, this is end of the year. We basically told everybody to really get their invoices in for the year end. Some of them do carry over. We have to put as accounts payable for year end, but so we pushed them a little bit this year to get their stuff in. So there's a lot of stuff in here, just a lot of small stuff, and there's a lot of some overpayments in here too. You'll see for bills. Page 1, we had Vanderwall's contract that we've been working on. Second page.
Just above that, the mileage payment?
Yes.
What's that about?
As part of the recruitment expense.
Oh, that was a candidate. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's what.
Far away.
From far away, okay. Thank you.
Page 2.
Just so this group knows, Vanderwall's agreement expired last week and will be before CDA for their input before it comes back, so.
Okay.
Page 2 is Bill Cole, that was just the month of October. I'm going to jump around in here because there's page 10, Reinert Fire Equipment. As you know, when the vehicles for the EMS or the ambulances or the fire trucks go in, it can be awfully expensive.
Is this the second one or the new one?
This is the new one. The current
What was wrong with it?
we have tires. Some of it's just like tires and just regular maintenance costs on here. A lot of it has to do with tires, though.
So there's no defects in it?
No.
It's truly
Truly,
maintenance?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to look at changing that word, because when I saw that, I thought, what the hell happened?
Page 11, so Hidden Strand, a couple projects that are working for us right now. Page 12, W.E. Davies. These are part of the 2015 capital budget. They're doing some remodeling projects from the police department and the dispatch. They're winding up.
Are those done?
They're close to completion. A couple thousand left.
On budget?
Yes. Page 17, fire station outfitters. This was part of the approved capital. That's within the capital budget. We did on page 18. We did have some plumbing issues. HJ Pittsburgh Plumbing. We did have a lot of plumbing work that had to be done down the fire department showers. It was leaking all over. It basically was needed some major repair work in there. Page 19, MG&E. Here's our utility bill for the month. We'll have Brad will be coming back to one of these meetings once he gets the fourth quarters to talk about the solar and how much we're saving on that. So he'll give an update that as soon as we get the fourth quarter numbers. Trees on wheels, page 21. Park trees that just went in. Approved part of the budget. Page 22, Angelo's Restaurant. The radio station volunteer appreciation dinner. What else do we have? Page 26, landmarks. As you're aware of, the fuel cost has gone down. So this is 1 month worth of fuel. When I first started here, the fuel cost, we started first with the landmarks, I think it was maybe probably 2 years ago, or it was around like $11,000 or $12,000 a month. So we are receiving huge savings in there.
We still use the same process. Everyone has a card and it's tracked by department and
Yep.
vehicle.
Now we're doing a report too. Actually, Lean's doing it, where she gets the monthly bills. She knows which car uses it, which card uses it, and she's tracking it now with gallons, how much car each gallon, or which vehicles use, how much gallons they're using. So we'll have detailed on that. Before they didn't put all that in there. Now they do. So we're tracking that too now. Page 29, Roto-Rooter services. Just want to hit this one. Annual sewer televising. I don't know if you remember this. There was a claim against us, and we switched. And I think Bob Jacobs, Dan, were part of this, and this costs. We found some issues there. We're saved a ton of money for the sewer department.
Have we resolved that? Okay.
It's
Short-term memory, has that been resolved yet? No,
It's-
it's still in arbitration.
sort of arbitration. Well, we sent the letter back to them. I haven't heard, unless you've heard anything from McCain's. Yeah.
Is that cost, that is an annual cost that we do? Does it make sense for us to look into buying our own equipment, self-performing?
It's like 3 or 4 people doing that all the time.
Yep, go ahead.
I think with the switch to Roto-Rooter, we finally have the process in place that we've been looking for. and which is why we made the switch. We felt there were savings that could be had by making the program more efficient. I think you've seen the invoices where we've, I don't want to say cut it in half, but darn near in half.
It's a ton of money.
Right. To go out and buy our own equipment, I think one truck will cost around 230 grand. And then 2 to 3 guys to staff that. And then televising, it's more efficient for us to hire it
Who
out.
does the review of the video?
Our staff does, our utility staff.
We are doing, they're not watching it and telling us.
We get a DVD packet and we get a written binder. We'll go through the written binder in winter to help determine what we need to address come spring and summertime.
And what department views that? No.
It's the utilities, the sewer,
Guys.
yeah. Yep. So,
They did an excellent job with that, saving cost, and on top of,
But are we learning things? I mean, is it proving we don't need repairs, we do need repairs? How are we using the data?
the written report details what the guy who's logging the video, what he sees when we're making the DVD.
And that's a Roto-Rooter
Right.
employee?
Yep.
Okay.
So if there's a problem area identified in the written report, we'll pop in the DVD and look at it. We use that to help determine, like local road reconstruction. When we do the engineering this year, we'll use all those tapes. They'll determine what needs to be replaced. If we can line, we look for maintenance areas such as where roots are coming through, where there's grease buildup. When we see that, those are areas that we target for more maintenance and more frequent monitoring. We tried gaining control over that in the past, and we weren't being cooperated with, and that's why we made the change. But it's working now.
What percentage of our infrastructure have we videoed?
We video 1/3 every year.
So
We-
by now, even with the deficiencies of the previous vendor, we must have done the whole city by now, at least once.
We've done 1/3 because we just made the change this past year.
Yeah, but we weren't getting anything out of the previous one?
Oh, we were,
Yeah.
right.
So out of, my question is have we videoed all of the city in the last 5 years?
Oh, definitely. We have one complete round every 3 years.
Okay.
So we do 1/3 of the system every year.
And what are we seeing with slip lining? Is it working?
That is something that I want to be doing more of. We have a lot of flat sewers in the city where the pipe necessarily isn't bad. But I think lining it versus replacing it is a better option because the flow line's already set. So if you change something here, you got to change everything downstream. But there's more lining projects that I want to do in the next few years. And these written reports and the videos will help us determine that. So,
Okay.
and he's lining compared to the sewer repair, I've known we've done it over years, have saved us a ton of money,
right.
sewer utility.
And the typical longevity of a slip line?
Same as if you put a new pipe in.
Okay.
Yep.
Mark,
That's all I have.
questions? Anything? Is there a motion for approval of the checks?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Checks have been approved. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Personnel and Finance is adjourned. Thank you.